whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down or whenever awake, one should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures. One comes again to birth and Okay. With this metta thought in mind, let us practice our meditation. At this time, start paying attention to your breathing. Even though we have been breathing all our life, until we pay attention to the breath, we don't know the details of our breathing. So we pay attention to the breath to notice what happens to the breath. As we breathe in and out for a few seconds, we realize that breath changes. It has various speed. Maybe at the beginning we noticed long inhaling as long inhaling, long exhaling as long exhaling. This happens naturally without any effort. We don't try to verbalize or conceptualize the breath. We don't try to manipulate the breath. This is not breathing exercise, but we let the breath flow in and out. And then after a while, the breath naturally becomes short, no longer very long, but it is sort of medium, that we call short breath. Noticing short inhaling as short inhaling, short exhaling as short exhaling, we breathe in and breathe out. As we pay total attention to this short inhaling and short inhaling, long inhaling as long inhaling, we notice the breath, the beginning of the breath, middle of the breath, end of the breath. That is the beginning of inhaling, middle of inhaling, and end of inhaling, and a pause. Then beginning of exhaling, middle of exhaling, end of exhaling, and a pause. We don't try to manipulate the breath to strengthen or lengthen the pause. It also happens very naturally. We become aware of it. And that is called knowing the breath body. Breath is one of the bodies. It is called body because the breath has elements. earth element, heat element, water element, and fire element, and space element. Wherever these four elements are, that is a body. So we notice this breath body and breathe in and out. Then, as we become aware of it, naturally the breath becomes relaxed, calm and peaceful. That is called pasambhayam, relaxing the body. Relaxing the breath body, we breathe in and out. We don't do anything to relax, but it naturally happens. Noticing this relaxed state of breath, relaxed state of mind, relaxed state of our feelings, we breathe in and out. Then the breath and the mind becomes even more calm, peaceful. At that time, no resentment or anger, no greed especially, doesn't arise in the mind. In the relaxed state, greed doesn't arise. When greed arises, mind becomes agitated, excited. So when mind is relaxed, calm and peaceful, greed or desire, lust doesn't arise. Then the breath becomes even more calm, more relaxed and more peaceful. At that time, our metta feeling activates. Metta feeling activates only when the mind is calm and relaxed. In agitated mind, excited mind, metta doesn't work. We verbalized metta earlier, then we thought of it, now we feel metta. With this feeling we breathe in and out, then resentment or anger doesn't arise in the mind. Then the breath and the mind becomes even more calm, more relaxed and peaceful. At that time there can arise sleepiness or drowsiness. Sleepiness and drowsiness we have to overcome in order to make our practice very successful. In order to overcome sleepiness and drowsiness, we have to arouse energy by visualizing very bright light. When we visualize bright light, sleepiness fades away, mind becomes very active. We have a lot of energy. At that time, if we are not mindful, energy can arouse another mental state called restlessness and worry. We become restless and worry, thinking of the past, various things, or thinking of the future, or planning the future. And we have to avoid that by anchoring our mind on the breath. We anchor our mind on the breath, which is going on in the present moment. As we do that, restlessness and worry settles down, mind settles down, and stay in the present moment. At that time we also can overcome our whatever doubt we have by thinking of the qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and so forth. The Buddha is our noblest, wisest, enlightened being. We must have the trust and confidence in his enlightenment. Buddha attained that state by following the Dhamma. And Buddha made the Dhamma his teacher because it is so supreme. It stands out above everything. And then his disciples, followers, followed the same path to overcome their hindrances and liberate themselves from samsaric suffering. That is how Arya Sangha, Noble Sangha, came into existence. So we follow this path with full confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Once these mental states, the obstacles, get out of our way, mind is very relaxed and calm and more peaceful. At that time, joy arises. Joy arises because there are no hindrances, obstacles. The path is clear. When with this state of mind full of joy, we gain concentration. When we gain concentration, mind becomes one-pointed. One-pointed of wholesome state of mind is called concentration. One-pointedness of wholesome mental state is called concentration. When that arises, mind becomes even more calm and sharp and clear to see things exactly as they are. Things here means our body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts and consciousness. These are the things we have. We want to see them exactly as they are. That means they all are in a state of flux, moving, changing all the time, rising and falling, appearing and disappearing, of form, feeling, perception, thought and consciousness. When we see this reality, the truth of these five aggregates, our greed fades away, disappointment or anger fades away, delusion fades away, mind becomes liberated from all defilements. That is what we want to do. So let us spend next few minutes seeing this happening, clearing our way, gaining concentration, seeing us very clearly as changing, moving entity. So with this I stop talking. We all continued sitting and paying attention to what is happening. By means of this meritorious deed, may I never join with the foolish, may I join always with the wise, until the time I attain Nibbana. May the suffering be free from suffering, may the fear-struck be free from fear, may the grieving be free from grief, so too may all beings be. From the highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings arisen in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to perfect peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, friends, it is time for you to ask me questions. Our friend Veronique or Chaturi will read the question for me. Then I can hear them clearly.
Okay, Bhante, we have one question so far. Bhante, could you please provide some examples and guidance on how to destroy karma with karma? Thank you.
How to destroy karma with karma. Right?
Yes.
That's a good question. Karma is called thinking, thought. Buddha said, Chetanaha bhikkhave kammang vadami, because I say thought is karma. Thought is karma. There are 6 kinds of thoughts that make karma. 6 kinds. They are sometimes called sankappa, sometimes called vitakka. And altogether we call them chetana, thought. They are divided into 2, wholesome and unwholesome. 3 unwholesome thought, 3 wholesome thought. 3 unwholesome thoughts: greed, kama vitakka, kama tanha, kama thinking of sensual pleasures. When we think of sensual pleasures, what underlies that is desire, greed, lobha. Then thought of hatred, vyapada vitakka or vyapada sankappa, thought of hatred, anger. Under greed there are many names. Under hatred there are many names. We just take only 3 basic words. Then the last is thought of cruelty, hingsa vitakka, hingsa sankappa, thought of hurting. Now thought of greed, thought of hatred, thought of hurting, anger. These are unwholesome thoughts. Then other 3 are wholesome thoughts. What are the wholesome thoughts? Renunciation, letting go, nekkhamma sankappa or nekkhamma vitakka. Thought of letting go. We call sometimes generosity, sometimes renunciation, and there are many names. Thought of letting go. And the second is thought of metta, loving friendliness. Avyapada sankappa in Pali. Avyapada vitakka, avyapada sankappa. Thought of loving friendliness or metta thought. Then the last is thought of non-cruelty, avihingsa sankalpa, thought of compassion. Thought of compassion is called avihingsa sankalpa. So we have on wholesome side thought of letting go, thought of metta, thought of compassion. On unwholesome side we have thought of greed, thought of hatred, thought of cruelty. Vyapada, craving, kama, vitakka, vyapada vitakka, vihingsa vitakka. Now, both are karmas. Wholesome, three wholesome thoughts commit wholesome karmas. Unwholesome thought commits unwholesome karmas. When we do something with unwholesome state of mind, suffering follows us. When you do with wholesome state of mind, happiness follows us. Now, if we understand wholesomeness is always painful. Wholesomeness is painful. Unwholesome is always painful. Unwholesome karma brings pain, suffering, sorrow, lamentation. So understanding that, wise individual commit wholesome karmas, not to have pain, suffering, sorrow, and so on. That's what we do when we meditate. We cultivate wholesome thoughts through meditation. Now, unwholesome thought causes us to be born in wrong place, painful place, after death. Or unwholesome thoughts causes of pain and suffering in this very life. Always that is the rule. Wholesome thoughts, words, deeds causes us to take rebirth in a wholesome place, happy place, prosperous place, with intelligence and so forth. Good friendship, good relatives, good location, and all this happened because of a wholesome thoughts. Now, knowing unwholesome thought brings suffering, we cultivate wholesome thoughts. Unwholesome thoughts are karmas, and wholesome thoughts are therefore karmas as well. Then what shall we do? In order to, because if we commit wholesome thoughts, life after life we commit wholesome thoughts, this life wholesome thought, next life thought wholesome thought, next life wholesome thought. We keep on committing wholesome thoughts over and over and over. The more we commit wholesome thought, we will stay in samsara, enjoying samsaric life. Joy, pleasure, happiness, wealth, friends, and all this. Now there is no escape. If we commit unwholesome thought, we will suffer life after life and even in this life. When we commit wholesome thought, we will have wholesome existence again and again and again and again. No end. Now here we have two things. Under wholesome thought there is a desire. Why we want to enjoy more and more in samsara. More you enjoy, more desire we increase. Although we don't, our thought is good, intention is good, but when we enjoy the results of the intention, good thoughts, we like it. That's why we commit it again and again. We like it. Whatever we like, we do it again and again. So, let alone unwholesome, we have to talk. Don't think even think about unwholesomeness. So wholesome also perpetuate our life. And therefore, we have to develop our wisdom. When we develop our wisdom, we see wholesome thought is pleasure, enjoyment, and there is a desire. We develop wisdom to see this wholesomeness, whatever wholesomeness in samsara, is impermanent. Whatever impermanent is unsatisfactory. Whatever impermanent, unsatisfactory is without self. And we don't see this normally. When we meditate, develop our mindfulness, gain deep concentration, as I mentioned earlier, with one-pointedness of state of mind, in one-pointedness of mind, we can see impermanence very clearly. Whether it is pleasant, unpleasant or neutral, everything is impermanent. When we say impermanence, then we will be disenchanted with this pleasure. Disenchanted with this pleasure. And develop our equanimity. And we see everything with the equanimous state of mind. Even in the equanimity, there can be certain amount of my, mine, I. We may call my equanimity. So even equanimity should be free, liberated from the notion of I, my, mine. That is called in Pali atammayata. Equanimity without my, mine, I, and so forth. When we say this, no more karma do we commit. And we want to see liberation. Whenever there is anything, that has this nature of rising, altering, and passing away. Rising, altering, and passing away. Anything, thing means thing. Anything, material or mental. Materiality and mentality. When there is something, this rising, falling, and altering in between takes place, happening all the time. When we can see falling without rising again, that is called anuppada nirodha. Uppada nirodha, anuppada nirodha. Uppada nirodha means rising and then falling. Anuppada nirodha means rising and falling, never to rise again. Anuppada nirodha means ceasing, cessation, without having any arising again. And that time, our karma cease. Karma we don't commit karma. Because the root of committing karma is totally eliminated. Until the root of committing wholesome or unwholesome karma is there, we commit karma. So, eliminating karma by committing karma is like that. Now, letting go of everything is a karma. What karma? Karma kaya karma. The karma that destroys the possibility of committing karma, destroys the potential of committing karma, destroying the root or seed of committing karma. For that we need wisdom. That's called vidya, and that we can acquire that state by following the dependent origination, the Noble Eightfold Path. These are the methods Buddha has taught us to eliminate our karma. That is karma, eliminating karma. Okay. I think that's a good question. I took about 15 minutes to answer that question. And is any other question?
Yes, Bhante. How do wholesome deeds affect our meditation?
Wholesome deeds affect our meditation is also a good question. Wholesome deeds is committed verbally, physically, mentally. Our meditation, when we have wholesome deeds, thoughts, words and deeds, and deed doesn't appear automatically without thoughts. So we mentioned earlier, when we meditate, what we do, we go to the root of deed, that is the mind. We go to the mind. And we have to pay attention to the mind to see whether greed, hatred or delusion, or non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion arises in the mind. And this we can do this while sitting, standing, walking, lying down, talking, eating, drinking, answering the call of nature, bathing and going to sleep, lying down, any time, in any posture. We train the mind again and again and again to look at our mind. We look at our mind. When we look at our mind, any given moment, if we find greed, we immediately eliminate it, because greed never brings happiness. If hatred arises at that time, we immediately get rid of hatred, because hatred never brings happiness. If delusion arises in mind, we must get rid of delusion at that very moment, because the delusion can never bring us happiness. Instead, if we experience any moment letting go, thought of renunciation, thought of generosity, we cultivate it. We cultivate the thought of generosity to the extent that we will be able to overcome all our possibility of committing karma. And that is, as I mentioned, that is how our non-arising cessation takes place. That means when something ceases, it doesn't arise again at all. Until such moment, we cultivate our letting go. When that root or seed of that thought arises in the mind at any given moment, we cultivate it. That is meditation. Similarly, when hatred non-hatred or metta, loving friendliness arises in the mind, we cultivate it. We keep repeating it again and again, again and again. And when we see impermanence, non-delusion means seeing impermanence. Delusion always invariably refers to non-seeing impermanent nature, not seeing anicca. Not seeing impermanence is delusion. If any moment a thought of permanency arises in the mind, we immediately get rid of it, seeing that it is impermanent. Now this is how we practice meditation every day. And this meditation helps us slowly and gradually to overcome, get rid of and liberate ourselves from greed, hatred and delusion. that attain full enlightenment. So, the goal of meditation is liberating the mind from greed, hatred and delusion and attaining full enlightenment. That is the goal. Although it's a very lofty, powerful goal, we can reach that goal, we can achieve that goal by chipping off our defilements little by little, and cultivating also Uda Bindu Nipatena, Uda Kumbhopi Purati, Purati Dhiro Punyasa, Thoka Thokampi Achanang, said the Buddha. Drop by drop by drop, the pot is filled with water. Drop by drop. So we practice meditation every moment, every day. Whenever we remember to practice it, we practice, and that will add up to reach the perfect state of mind without greed, hatred and delusion. So the meditation always helps us to liberate the mind from samsaric suffering and attain liberation. Okay, any other question?
Yes, Bhante. Bhante, during the retreat, you mentioned letting go once there is understanding. I think that what you said is after winning, you let it go. Once you gain it, let it go. Can you please comment on this a bit more? Thank you for your generosity.
Okay. Even the other day during the monastic retreat, I said, I recited the stanza, Kumbhupamang khai memang viditva, Nagarupamang chittamidan tapetva, Yodheta marang panya yudena, Jitancha rakke anivesano siya. Seeing the body like a clay pot, seeing the mind like a city, using the weapon of wisdom, defeat the Mara. After defeating Mara, you gain some spiritual state. But that spiritual state that you gain, also you should let go. That means you should not hang on to it thinking that this is mine, this I am, this is myself. So, whenever you gain, of course we know in the material sense, in material world, when you gain something, you hold on to it. When you gain some knowledge, you hold on to it. When you gain some property, you hold on to it. When you fight a war, you gain certain areas, so you hold on to it, establish a garrison, the army, to protect it from the enemies coming back and retaking the place. So you protect it. That is in the material world, in the material gains. But we have to let go of that. And the Buddha said even the mental state, virtuous state, pure, clean state, we should not hold on to it thinking that this is mine. And Buddha said in Alagadupama Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, Dhammo pi bhikkhave pahatabbo phageva adhammo. Because even the Dhamma, wholesome Dhamma, should be given up, let alone unwholesome Dhamma. Meaning, both wholesome and unwholesome state of mind you gain, don't try to hold on to it thinking that this is mine. What it means is, don't try to possess it thinking that it is mine. Look at it as ne tang mama, ne so hamasim ne so. This is not mine. We must always gain something spiritually without thinking this is my gain. my success, but you see the gain just as gain, success as success, without having a person or individual or entity that possesses that gain, that power, that attainment. That is a very subtle mental state. Not ordinary people can have that wisdom. As we keep practicing, we will see that in our own mental state. It is happening to us. To anybody who practices Dhamma, practices meditation, with understanding, can see this happening in that person's mind. Okay, this is how we let go of what we gain. Okay?
Bhante, could you please indicate which sutta from Majjhima Nikaya this is belonging to? In particular, this teaching that you just gave, which particular sutta can we find this in?
In Samyutta Nikaya?
Majjhima Nikaya.
That is called Alagadupama Sutta. Alagadupama Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya.
Thank you.
Alagadupama Sutta, you can see, I think Sutta number 30, no, Sutta number 22.
Thank you.
Sutta number 22, Alagadupama Sutta. Okay? Any other question? We have 3 more minutes.
Okay, a quick question is more about practice. This person has heard that a lot of teachers just advise to let go of persistent, unwholesome thoughts. And this person is trying to do this. She's been trying to do this for a long time, but they still keep coming back, those kind of thoughts. They still feel like they're struggling with asaras, but they're a little bit weakened with the practice. And the sense of self is still present. The question is, what should the person do? Just persevere, accepting that this is part of dukkha, part of being born, that this struggle is ongoing. What's your advice?
My advice is you have to, in the first place, you have to have faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, strong faith. Second, you have to make effort to overcome this thought arising. Third and most effective is to see impermanence. Especially in Vipassana meditation, seeing impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness of the body, feeling, perception, thought and consciousness. You are talking about the thought. Thought also is impermanent. Whatever thought arises in the mind, it is impermanent. Whether the thought is wholesome or unwholesome, it is impermanent. Thought of your various things, memories, planning, and so forth, all are impermanent. So you have to see impermanence in all these things very clearly in order to get rid of this. That happens while it is happening. You see the impermanence is happening. Whenever something arises, something happens in your mind, what you really see happening is impermanent, rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling. That is what you have to remember. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, thank you. Maitri. Okay, I like to get more instructions from your son. Ask him to send me an email. I want to talk to him. All right, thank you. Now we have to end this session with my regular benediction. May all those who are suffering in hospital due to various sicknesses, may they all recover very quickly and return to normal life, continue their Dhamma practice and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. All those doctors and nurses who sacrifice their comfort, their effort, and everything they have, even risking their own life to take care of these patients, may they continue their wonderful, compassionate activities, service to help people, and they themselves live long in very good health. And all others who are supporting in many ways out of generosity and compassion, may they continue their support. And all the leaders who are taking the leadership and leading the world in the right direction, may they continue their wonderful, insightful, compassionate leadership. And may all of you be well, happy and peaceful, live long in very good health, and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Hey.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Edwan Saranai
Thank you
Bhante.
so
Good
much.
prayer.
Sadhu.